Welcome back to Past Post and Present Pulse, where we dig into the stories that shaped yesterday and are still shaking things up today. And boy, do we have a spicy one for you. Today, we're discussing deep into the drama between President Donald Trump and India. Yeah, you heard that right. Trump's been throwing some serious shade at India lately, and it's got everyone talking. From tariffs to illegal immigration and even some wild claims about aid for elections, Trump's been on a roll. So let's break it all down, unpack the facts, and see what's really going on here. Buckle up, because this is gonna be a wild ride. First things first, let's talk about tariffs. If you've been following Trump for a while, you know this guy loves to talk about tariffs. It's like his favorite word. And when it comes to India, he's been relentless. Trump has called India a tariff king more times than I can count. He's accused India of slapping tremendously high tariffs on American products while enjoying relatively low tariffs on their exports to the US. And, to be fair, he's not entirely wrong. India's average tariff rate is around 17%, which is way higher than the US's 3 to 5%. For example, India charges a 150% tariff on whiskey. Yeah, your favorite bourbon just got a lot pricier over there. Motorcycles like Harley-Davidson's hit with a 100% tariff. Meanwhile, the US barely taxes Indian goods in comparison. Trump's been pushing for what he calls reciprocal tariffs. Basically, if India taxes US goods at a certain rate, the US should tax Indian goods at the same rate. It sounds simple, but it's a big deal because it could spark a trade war, and nobody wants that. Imagine higher prices on Indian textiles, pharmaceuticals, and tech services here in the US. But here's the thing, India's been trying to negotiate. They've even lowered some tariffs on US products, like almonds and apples, but Trump wants more. And with his America First mentality, he's not backing down. In fact, just the other day, he tweeted something about India being one of the highest tariff nations in the world, and how they take advantage of us pretty good. So, yeah, this tariff drama's far from over. Alright, now let's get into the illegal immigration bit. Trump's been hammering India on this too. He's pointed out that there are hundreds of thousands of undocumented Indian immigrants in the US, around 725,000 as of 2024, according to some estimates. Trump wants India to take them back, and he's not shy about it. In fact, during a recent phone call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Trump brought it up directly. He said India will do what's right on the issue, which is basically code for, you better start taking your people back. India's response? Well, they've said they'll verify the nationality of deportees and take them back if they're legit. But let's be real, deporting that many people is easier said than done. It's a logistical nightmare, and it's not like India's jumping for joy at the idea. Think about it. Verifying the nationality of 725,000 people? That could take forever. Plus, this ties into Trump's broader immigration crackdown. He's been all about building walls, tightening borders, and deporting undocumented immigrants, no matter where they're from. So, India's just the latest target in his immigration war. But here's the kicker. This could also be an opportunity for the US and India to work together on immigration reforms that benefit both sides. It's a sensitive topic, sure, but it's one worth addressing. Alright, now for the weirdest part, aid for elections. This one's a bit murky, but here's what I found. Trump has been ranting about how India takes advantage of the US, and he specifically mentioned USAID funding. For those who don't know, USAID is the US agency that provides foreign aid for development projects, like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. India's been getting this aid for decades, and Trump's not happy about it. He's basically saying, why are we giving money to a country that's charging us high tariffs and not playing fair? But here's the kicker. There's no evidence that this aid is going toward Indian elections. Zero. Zilch. Nada. It's all for development projects. For example, USAID has been funding healthcare initiatives in India, like maternal and child health programs. They've supported education programs, helping kids in rural areas get access to schools. They've even invested in infrastructure, like clean energy projects. So, why is Trump bringing it up? Probably because he's trying to paint India as ungrateful or something. It's classic Trump, mixing up issues to make a point. But let's be clear, there's no aid for elections scandal here. It's just Trump being Trump. And honestly, it's a bit misleading. USAID funding isn't about meddling in India's elections. It's about strengthening ties and supporting development. Trump's criticism seems to stem from a broader discontent with foreign aid, but it's important to recognize the strategic value of these investments in keeping US-India relations strong. So, what's the bigger picture? Why is Trump going after India like this? Well, for one, it's about his base. Trump supporters love it when he talks tough on trade and immigration. It's red meat for his voters. Every time he calls India a tariff king or demands deportations, his base eats it up. But there's also a strategic angle. India's a rising power, and the US wants to keep it close, especially with China lurking in the background. Trump knows that, which is why he's been careful not to burn bridges completely. He's praised Modi, called him a great leader, and even invited him to the White House. So, it's a balancing act. Criticize India on specific issues but keep the overall relationship intact. But here's where it gets interesting. India's not just sitting back and taking it. They've been pushing back, quietly but firmly. On tariffs, they've offered some concessions, but they're not about to slash all their tariffs overnight. On immigration, they've agreed to take back deportees, but only after verifying their nationality, which could take forever. And on the aid thing, well, they've basically ignored Trump's rants because they know it's not really about elections. So, what does this mean for the future? Honestly, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, Trump's criticisms could strain US-India relations, especially if he follows through with those reciprocal tariffs. That could hurt both economies and make things awkward. Imagine paying more for your favorite Indian spices or tech support services. On the other hand, both countries have too much at stake to let things spiral out of control. India's a key player in the Indo-Pacific, and the US needs it to counter China. Plus, there's a ton of trade and investment between the two countries, over $190 billion in 2023 alone. So, cooler heads will probably prevail. Alright, that's the rundown. Trump's been going after India on tariffs, illegal immigration, and some made-up stuff about election aid. It's a mix of real issues and classic Trump exaggeration. But at the end of the day, it's all part of the bigger game: geopolitics, economics, and a little bit of showmanship. Both countries have a lot to gain from working together, and while Trump's criticisms might make headlines, they also present an opportunity for dialogue. So, let's keep watching this space and see where it goes.